So the question is 6 months in the Senate the equivalent to 3 years in the NFL? I mean,
no.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Predicted Podcast. I'm here with Ethan and Garth. We're going to break down everything from Texas, everything from Iran, and the connectors in between.
Thank you for having me.
I kind of can't get over the whole Trump asking whoever he endorses in Texas to drop out type thing, like completely blowing up the whole runoff, coupled with like what transpired in Montana, and it's just kind of fascinating to me because it's, I think Ethan's talked about this a couple of times, just how uncompetitive races are.
Yeah.
The primaries have just become so uncompetitive. And it's not like some new thing that Trump is, wading into the primaries and saying, I'm picking this guy, I'm picking that guy. It's kind of evolved. I feel like, and it's really just, I can't tell if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're kind of kicking the can down the road, and you're kicking it so far down the road that you're not able to like test if it works,
Right.
I mean,
right. You don't have that immediate reaction.
Right. And I don't know if any of you guys are Formula One fans. There's about to start in Australia this week, and they've just changed all the regulations, and nobody really knows what's going to happen. And so, like, you can hide all the cool gadgets you got, all these cool things that you've, figured out and you've developed, but you don't know until you get there. And, Sunday when they start racing, everybody's going to be sitting there going, well, oh, those guys figured it out. And if Trump is like, well, I'm just picking this guy, and you get to the general and you haven't tested a message, you haven't done something, like, I mean, that's a coin flip. I mean, seems a little crazy to me.
There's nowhere where I think you're going to see that more than North Carolina. I think Republicans nominated like one of the worst candidates they could have for this environment.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And again, I mean, and it just doesn't make any sense either. I mean, because Cooper, right?
It's Cupper, actually. Ethan is the one who taught me that.
It's Cupper, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's two O's, but it's Cupper. Just go with it. Okay.
It's like bouquet. Bucket. That's you knew a super popular governor is running, and you picked Watley.
By the way, you've given the seat away. Uncompetitive. So we obviously Kristi Noem is out. What's his bucket? As if I want to sound like Garth is in. Mark Wayne Mullen, and now we've got an open Senate seat in Oklahoma. Now, an open Senate seat in Oklahoma is not a real opportunity for anybody. Okay, it's Oklahoma. I think that's right. I think it might be the deepest red state in the country. It might be close to like West an Alabama
or Wyoming.
Wyoming.
I think it's going to be your deepest.
There we go. But I mean, it's close.
It's close, yeah.
But I love, there's nothing better than Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt nominating potentially himself to be the senator from Oklahoma.
Yes, but I would note, he could nominate himself, but if he nominates himself, he cannot run in the election. So he would be only serving for the remainder, not even the remainder of the term. He would be serving until the election is certified in November.
Oh,
I looked this up yesterday. I don't know this all offhand. I looked this up yesterday when I was
No, you know it offhand. Don't.
Ethan's like an almanac for these types of things.
No. I just looked it up.
No, but Garth, I mean, we've been trying to figure out how do we get this job? How do we enter Congress? Because they're always on vacation. God. You're about to go on vacation, so we just want this job.
I am, yes. I mean, I'm channeling my inner DC, but what's above? I'm going to the mountains. I'm going to the Alps. I'm ready for it.
So this is what we got to do. We got to win governor.
I mean,
ensure your senator's picked for a cabinet spot.
Wait,
and then
if he serves for until November, does he get like lifetime health care? Does he get the Cadillac package just because he was a senator?
I don't know the
Ethan,
rules on that. I don't know the rules on that. He's been
you're
a senator for it has to be 6 years now. So I mean, I think
Well, no, no,
it kicks in
no
early. I don't
stick.
know.
what
Oh,
I'm really
Stitt.
curious.
Oh,
Like somebody
sorry,
we have
sorry. I thought you were talking about Mullen.
not
It's
Stitt.
kind of
I'm
like
talking
how
about
many
Stitt getting the
months.
job and then getting the golden ticket.
Yeah, I know. Like in the NFL, you have to be in the NFL for I think it's 3 years to get full benefits for the rest of your life. So
Benefits.
the question is 6 months in the Senate the equivalent to 3 years in the NFL? I mean,
No.
okay, I'm just throwing the question out there.
But he's gonna get like an official portrait, and he's gonna have an office, and I mean, he's a senator. Just saying.
Right, right. It's true. It's true. I want to do a really quick plug. I had a great day on Twitter yesterday as at PredictItPod. Please follow me on Twitter. At 7:42 a.m., I noted that Noem was potentially going to get fired that day. I said Noem certainly looks like she's the closest to being gone. And I also said it was still under 30 cents. It was at 28 cents. Just a few hours later, it was at 80 cents. Then she was officially fired a few hours later after that. So if you're not following at Predicted Pod, you're missing out on money. So please follow at Predicted Pod. Again, I haven't said anything too insanely stupid. I did have not a great pick on Tuesday for Texas. I said Harris County might go Tallarico. That was way too bullish on Tallarico. But the things like, predicting Noem's getting fired the day she does, come on, guys. You can't miss out here. So please go follow on Twitter. But let's get to Noem, because that was a big surprise. Garth, we talked about last week. We were like, everybody in the cabinet's probably pretty safe given war, right? We're now at war. I think Trump calls it war. So I'm just going to go ahead and break that case open. We're now at war. Noem, surprising to both of you or not at all?
I after the hearing, I think she was toast. I mean that $220 million ad, self-plugging, that is just not a good look. I mean, she's done plenty of things to get the boot, but that was kind of like that's really bad press for a president who loves the press. Well, the attention.
That was a straw that broke the camel's back. She's been in danger for a long time, as have a couple of other people. But
Yeah.
spending $200 million, a large portion of it going to your own consultants, and then claiming that the president authorized it, only for him to then tell reporters he didn't. The writing was on the wall at that point. It was only a matter of time. I will point out that
Fastest perjury case ever. Keep going, Ethan.
well, there were some people who thought that he would wait until after March to announce it, because there are some rumors that she's going to come into the South Dakota Senate race, which is something that I don't think the White House wants. But instead, he gave her a fake job. So we'll see if that works.
Fake jobs for everybody. Wait, Garth, do you know because I know Ethan probably knows the official title. I can't exactly remember what it is, but it's
no, I don't.
It's
like
like something
Shield of the Americas or something.
That's what I remember. I only remember Shields of the America. That's
oh my goodness. It's like
so
the Space
funny,
Force.
Melania is presiding over the UN, and Kristi Noem is now like some deputy secretary of the Shields of America. It's like who gets what jobs, really.
But the important thing is that she's not in South Dakota for the next 25 days.
Yeah.
After that, who cares?
That's true. The filing deadline's at the end of the month, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. It's a good point. It's a very good point. Yeah. I don't think she would win that primary anyway. But why would you want to exhaust Republican resources in a primary against Mike Rounds? Very weird. So yeah,
I mean, especially considering how much they've spent in Texas already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like that. I mean, they don't have the extra money unless Elon's going to start writing checks, and that's gone quiet since January.
Yeah, let's move to Texas because that's the headline this week. We had a wonderful election day. I love election days. Ethan, Garth, you probably do too. Texas, both surprising and not surprising. I think my headlines or the prediction markets clearly got Tallarico
Hmm.
correct. In some cases, they were a little too bullish. I thought the margin of victory for him before the night started was insane. Most of the money was on 10 plus point above Crockett. But I do think the prediction markets looked kind of bad on their flip of Paxton. They really got scared, really towards the midnight, probably, when it was clear we were going to a runoff, and Paxton basically went from 85 cents to 25 cents
Hmm.
in a matter of an hour or two. Do you have an explanation for that, Ethan or Garth?
Yeah, I would say I have an explanation for why it flipped. The explanation for why it flipped is that Cornyn overperformed. It was clear that, everybody in his camp was going to use that to lobby Trump to say, Tallarico's the stronger Democratic candidate. He won. Paxton's the weaker
Yeah.
Republican candidate. He couldn't even get first
Yeah.
place in the primary. Let's all align
Yep.
behind Cornyn and put this Texas business behind us so we don't have to worry about it for the general. In terms of why people were more bullish on Paxton going into the race, I would say it's kind of simple. It's polling. I mean, Paxton was dominant in the polls. Cornyn was not. The Senate
Yep.
or the Senate Leadership Fund was spending enormous amounts of money to boost him, and it just wasn't showing any payoff in the polls. There's an anti-incumbent mood in the country, and people thought it would carry Paxton. It didn't. It didn't carry him enough. He came close. I think the margin right now is about 1.2% with just about everything counted. But that 1.2 could be the difference between, a plausible path to a Senate seat and being forced to drop out and, maybe given a fake job like Kristi Noem.
I could see him with a fake job very
Yeah.
clearly. He's got fake
Yeah.
job written all over him.
Yeah.
He does. He does.
Garth,
Wow.
so I thought the polling was pretty accurate on the Republican side, especially towards the end. I think actually both sides, the last minute polling or the polling within 4 or 5 days was frankly pretty accurate. There was polling trying to estimate what would happen in the case of a runoff and in the case of a Trump endorsement of Cornyn. Basically, without Trump's endorsement, and this is a much earlier poll. It's like mid-February. Basically, without Trump's endorsement of Cornyn, Paxton plus 13. If Trump endorsed Cornyn, it was Paxton plus 7. So a 6 point difference there. Now, if we adjust things to reflect the actual results of the runoff, that would definitely give Cornyn a big jump. But I do think Paxton's probably going to start campaigning a little bit harder during this runoff period. I don't think he campaigned as hard as he could the first round. Garth, how much does Trump's endorsement actually make a difference here?
I think it makes the world. I mean, it's money. It's going to be more money. It's going to be closing the door. I think Paxton they'll figure out a way to move Paxton out of the way, and so that they can focus on Tallarico. I mean, it is the most expensive Senate race in the history. I mean, I feel like we say that every 2 years.
Yeah, we do. It's
But
like the movies breaking the box office records.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And not adjusting for currency,
Right.
or for inflation. It's they have to move him out of the way to focus on Tallarico because Tallarico is a strong, strong candidate, and it also it feels like Paxton is already trying to save face after what Trump had said earlier this week about making an endorsement, and then Paxton saying, "Well, I've campaigned for a year," which it's a common sense statement. But he's got to save face to a certain degree to protect himself for his next job. But they got to rally around Cornyn, or else Texas really could go the other way if Paxton somehow wins the runoff.
Yeah. I mean, now I do want to kind of hone in on Tallarico. You said he was a
Hmm.
strong candidate. I definitely think he's a stronger candidate than his former opponent, Jasmine Crockett. But Tallarico does have some really clear progressive stances that are going to run all
Hmm.
throughout the season, late August, September, November, October, November. And I'm losing confidence in a blue Texas, I think. I think when you really look into what comes out of Tyler Go's mouth, also what he's tweeted in peak woke, we might call it, post COVID 2021 era. I think that kind of stuff is perfect fodder. And that was the kind of thing that wasn't different between Crockett and Tallarico. They had a
Hmm.
lot of the same policy stances. And I just think when there's actually some cross pressure, he could blow over. I mean, look, he's a great candidate. He's a great politician. He might be able to morph himself into wiggling around certain stances that he has, or defend himself properly. But Ethan, do you also have reservations on Tallarico having a shot in November?
I actually think it's pretty simple. The more the election is about social issues, the worse Tallarico will do. The more the election is about the economy, the better he will do, especially if the dominant narrative is that, oil prices are too high. I know this is Texas where some people
Yep.
benefit from high oil prices, but the majority of people do not, especially swing voters. Um, if this
Hmm.
election is about what he was tweeting about race or gender or transgender people or, anything like that back in 2020, he will lose. It's that simple. So his job is to basically come out and say, they're trying to distract you with by misinterpreting what I wrote about, something back in 2020, while meanwhile the billionaires are running off with your hard-earned dollars and using them to go to war with Iran and raise your oil prices and things like that. That's his challenge. He's a very effective communicator. So can he do it?
Hmm.
Maybe, but the environment has to be right for him.
Yeah.
I think this is a great point. By the way, Democrats are 36 cents right now to win that Senate seat.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans are 65 cents. So I think that's probably pretty accurate in terms of pricing. I think the longer this war goes on, the more reflective this pricing will be to the Democrats taking control of the Senate. But I do want to start to talk about Iran because we have a war timeline update. Garth, last week we were talking about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Hex said 6 weeks. I'm seeing new
Yep.
estimates that are actually pointing to months. I'm seeing September as a new timeline that's being floated around. Now,
Okay.
if we do wrap up in September, there's probably enough time to try to the Republicans to try to cleanse their positions in October. You don't think
I'm
so?
skeptical. I'll give you one
Yeah.
prediction that I don't think is that bold. Um, if gas prices are at 4.50 a gallon in September, Democrats will take the Senate. It's that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
You sound like
Yeah.
Garth right now,
It's
Ethan.
it's interesting. Well, because it's interesting because again I'm watching the currencies, and you would think that as the U.S. being one of the largest producers of oil in the world, the fact that the Saudis and so on and so forth are going offline or at least pausing, that would really benefit American companies producing gas in the States. But Ethan's 100% right. I mean, hasn't the price of gas gone up 27 cents already? If that's a prolonged thing and everybody's going to their car to fill it up, to drive to soccer practice or drive to baseball practice or, go to work and they're shelling out all this extra cash, even though American companies are benefiting from it, and I could easily see the Trump administration say, well, look, it's this boon, right, for our economy. It's doing great. But, everybody who goes and fills up their car says, well, no, it's not. Yeah, the Republicans are cooked. Straight up
I think
cooked.
if it was only gas prices, it would be a little bit easier to say, hey, but this, but that. Now the stock market's taking a hit in the last few days, starting to realize that this war is going to cause more and more chaos as it gets longer. We now have a jobs report this
Right.
morning. By the way, we're recording this on
Oof.
Friday. We'll post on Monday. But the jobs report
Yep.
revised numbers are bad. This month, we lost
Very bad. Big surprise.
92,000
Mm-hmm.
jobs. December was revised down by 65,000 jobs, and that crossed the zero. It went from adding 48,000 to losing 17,000. We're now seeing healthcare, which is pretty much the main sector that has been adding jobs the last few months, is starting to slow down as well. So that, in addition to gas prices, in addition to the AI conversation, and the stock market's
Hmm.
not happy, it's not a good recipe here. I mean, Garth, we were talking about what would have to be cooked up
No.
to have Trump's approvals down to 30%. this is the start
Yep.
to that trail. I
This
mean,
is the
it'll
start.
take us
Yeah.
a bunch of months, but this is exactly the recipe to cook, Trump's approval ratings down to have the Democrats blue
What and
wave.
exactly, and initial polling that came out this week, it's 4, 5, 6 major polls have all said, boo-hoo on the Iran conflict, and majorities of Americans already saying that, they didn't get the runway to, say, build up confidence and, oh, this is what we're going to do, this is going to potentially happen. It was like, oh, we've taken out the supreme leader of Iran, and now we're in a military conflict. Was no rally around the flag effect,
Mm-mm.
and the polls are showing, the distrust in the administration, and that's only going to drive his job approval lower in the coming
On,
weeks.
on
So,
on gas, can I just add?
Mhm.
If it was just gas prices, I might agree with you that that by itself is bad, but not too bad. But it's never just gas prices because petroleum
right,
products are one of the biggest inputs into
exactly.
the economy. If your gas prices
Yep.
are up, so are your food prices. If your gas prices are up,
Mm-hmm.
so are the costs of, goods that you buy at any given store. A bucket at Home Depot, the
Yep.
price is up.
Mhm.
Lumber, the price is up.
Yep.
Any given commodity or good that you want to talk about will go up because of gas prices. Your price of your vacation, if you're fortunate enough to take one, will go up because jet fuel prices are up. Everything
Yep.
is going to go up
Exactly.
if gas prices are up. That's why, again, not too bold prediction. Democrats will win the Senate if gas is above, I'd even say $4 a gallon. There was a study during the Biden administration who, had terrible problems with gas prices during the middle 2 years of it in particular, that found that gas becomes a dominant news story when it's at about 370 a gallon. Below that, it's actually not a huge factor in terms of what's on the local news, what's on the national news. But once it starts crossing that 360, 370, 380, it becomes a dominant story that's on the front page of, newspapers, local news, CNN, etc. And people can't ignore that. They feel it every time they fill up. They feel it when they buy food. So,
Yep.
you know, I don't know how much time there is to get these to end this war before things spiral out of control. I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows.
I do think
No.
if we go back to Texas really quickly, Ken Paxton is being helped out by this war in a terrible way, but unfortunately, he is driving that wedge issue into the MAGA Trump coalition here. We saw Tucker Carlson taking up, hardcore words of. We talked about Nick Fuentes last week. Marjorie Taylor Greene's now saying she's going to support Tucker Carlson running for president in 2028. This is the faction of MAGA that will be anti-Trump in the case of wars that cause higher gas prices, that cost billions of dollars per day to wage war, in the Middle East. So it might help out Ken Paxton here. And I just want to reiterate that Ken Paxton right now is at 14 cents to win this
Mm-hmm.
primary. I think that is woefully underpriced. Updating now, it's actually at 19 cents. I think people are starting to wake up a little bit to realize that he probably won't drop out. He said he would drop out if the SAVE Act and the filibuster were taken care of. I don't think either of those things are happening. The three of us have already talked about that. We haven't talked about the
Yeah.
filibuster, but that's way further out than the SAVE Act. I think is a little bit more realistic.
Yeah.
But and this might be a good transition over to the war powers resolutions in both chambers. But Garth, I don't know if you wanted to add something really quick.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's funny that a Texas attorney general is dictating to the Senate what's the cost for him to drop out. I mean, I think the majority leader would probably frown upon uh, such things.
Yeah, makes him less likely, right? He's like, what am I
Yeah.
taking orders from again, like a state level,
Who is this
attorney
guy?
general? So crazy.
Can,
Yeah.
can I add though? In terms of whether or not this is a wedge issue in the Republican Party, it absolutely is. In that if you look at polling, there's 20, maybe you could squint and get higher than that percentage of Republicans who are going to break with the president on this. But 20%, this is very good for Democrats to highlight because they want those 20% disaffected.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
you cannot win a Republican primary running against the president with those, 20, even say it's 40. You cannot win a Republican primary on that.
Hmm. Hmm. That's fair.
Yep.
So let's go over to War Powers resolutions. Both in the House and Senate were voted down essentially on party margins. We had a fun little, as always, Fetterman Rand Paul
Mhm.
trade in the Senate, and a couple trades in the House, but pretty much along party lines. Now the House voting to restrict the use of force on Iran by June 30th is at 10 cents. Senate doing the same is at 15 cents. I wanted to ask, what would it take to hold another vote in both chambers for this to actually be a serious, contentious vote?
I think you'd need a ground invasion. I think so long as this is
Yeah.
limited to airstrikes, the American people have shown time and time again throughout my entire lifetime that they're quite tolerant of it as a thing that
Hmm.
happens, as a thing that they consider to be different from, a war. So long as there's not a large scale troops on the ground operation, I don't think these types of
Yep.
political constraints that would lead to the passage of a War Power Act are going to exist. But I'm happy to be wrong on that. These things can spiral very quickly.
I mean, the president effectively has 60 days. And, I think the talk about war powers is maybe to set it up for later, but, he's kind of effectively well in his rights. He's notified Congress what he's doing,
Mhm.
and, he's within that 60-day time, that window. So, I mean, Ethan's 100% correct. It has to be, boots on the ground. I mean, I say only, but only 6 Americans have died, and they were wrong place, wrong time, not because they were, invading or in Iran where they weren't supposed to be, right?
Yeah, it was terrible
So it's
luck,
more of
essentially.
it's terrible luck, tragedy,
Terrible.
and um, so yeah, I think it would take a lot more to move the needle back home.
Yeah, it's just insane. I mean, the strikes on each embassy, you start to think about how much Benghazi dominated headlines back in
Hmm.
2015, well, before 2015, 2016, but that came back around. It's so interesting, the parallel universes that we live in
Mhm.
10 plus years later. It's pretty
Yep.
insane. But I will say, Garth, you said a 60-day timeline. That would fall within our June 30th deadline for both of our Senate and House markets. Is 10 cents and 15 cents, respectively, for the House and the Senate an interesting price to hold out through June 30th, which it's long, but it's not that long.
Probably. I mean, it's low enough. It's low enough to see some potential movement, especially without clear guidelines on timeline. It's there's so much, up in the air at the
Mhm.
moment that I could see that. I mean, you could really reassess your position in, April, May, and still have time to get out of the market.
Yeah, agreed. And how much further is it really going to fall? Considering again,
Right.
things in Congress can happen pretty quickly. I will say that we talked about self-preservation mode last week. So Republicans at some point, depending on the president's approval rating, will have to go into self-preservation mode. This is exactly what would be part of that self-preservation
Yep.
plan, is putting your stamp against the war in Iran. So I actually do like it at probably less than 15 cents, but maybe more than 10 cents. So somewhere in that meaty margin. Again, you're going to have a lot of time to kind of reassess things, and there's not too much to lose on that front, depending on how much you put in those contracts. But I like these prices here. I do. I do want to mention Kamala Harris and the endorsement of Jasmine Crockett, and then the immediate endorsement of James Dalrymple. This isn't helping her cause for 2028, is it?
No, no.
I mean,
Um,
can anything help her cause in 2028? I mean,
She should
sorry.
definitely just kind of go away and come back, right? I
Yeah,
feel like she should really
this
stay out of the
her
headline.
her comeback is not much of a comeback. I mean,
I mean,
sorry.
she
I
wrote a
will.
book immediately after, and now she's endorsing it. There's no like silence from her, really.
Well, when you're running in these primaries, there's kind of two games you're playing. One is a direct appeal to voters, the other is an appeal to the establishment to rally around you. voters, I don't think, are going to remember this endorsement when 2028 rolls around.
Sure.
But the
Sure.
establishment, senators, governors, party leaders, they're going to remember that her endorsement of Jasmine Crockett did not accomplish a whole lot when it comes time to for 2028 to roll around. So she may hurt herself with that. Who knows?
You lose
I,
political
I mean,
capital,
She
right?
lost political capital.
Yeah.
I mean, but Crockett worked for Harris, right? She campaigned for her. So, I mean, it's just a quid pro quo thing.
But
So
to
I
not be
see
able
it
to
and
get
then
her
flipping over
over
the
the
telephone.
finish, but she was leading in the polls, which I know isn't really indicative of anything. And Harris couldn't get her over the finish line in a Democratic primary. I mean, it's a quid pro quo. I get that Crockett endorsed her and campaigned for her, but so did Tallarico. Um,
Right.
you have to be judicious with these things if you're running. You don't want, a bad track record and to lose in the biggest marquee primary, which happens to also be the first primary. It's not a good look.
And frankly, she could have, made an enemy out of Crockett. Crockett doesn't have a job anymore. I mean, she's not running for her seat again. She's out of Congress now
Hmm.
come January of next year. So there's not too much in making that quote unquote enemy or pissing that camp off. If you're Harris, you have bigger fish to fry. All right, perfect. Thanks, squad. Appreciate y'all hopping on. Thanks everyone for listening. Again, please go follow us on youtube.com/@predictedofficial. Follow us on Twitter @predictedpod. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we're everywhere. But thanks for listening, and tune in next week. Thanks, team.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.